Very good afternoon, all. Welcome to Mumbai ACM SIGCHI Professional Chapter. Hi there, Suraj Kadam this side, one of the officer of Mumbai ACM SIGCHI Professional Chapter, also a member of ACI Professional Association of India. I have been associated and actively worked with this awesome team for more than 7 months. Happy to host this 48th chapter. Thank you, Kinari and Dani, for this opportunity. A warm welcome to all the audience who came to this chapter meet, and a warm welcome to the main speaker of today's program, Mr. Rohan Vyas, by the entire Mumbai ACM SIGCHI Professional Chapter team. A short introduction of ACM Mumbai chapter. Mumbai ACM SIGCHI Professional Chapter is an association of human-computer interaction professionals in the Mumbai area. This is a new chapter officially chartered in October 2019. We usually have a monthly meets and over tea and snacks. These meets are open for ACM SIGCHI members and non-members and are free. At this meet, we have had research paper presentations, case study presentations for the live projects, the panel discussion, book reviews, among these things. These meets are jointly organized by the Mumbai ACM SIGCHI Professional Chapters and the IIT Bombay ACM SIGCHI Student Chapter. Since March, we have switched to online meets that has been continued with the today's 48th chapter. It is my great pleasure to introduce you our today's speaker, Mr. Rohan Vyas. He is passionate about UX and product design and has been in a design industry for more than 7 years. He brings a strong work ethic and thrive in a collaborative team environment with a background in engineering and design. He offers a unique blend of skills to create a seamless and intuitive user experience. He is committed to teamwork and open communication. He firmly believes that the best outcomes are achieved through the collaborative efforts and diverse perspective. Through his work, he collaborates closely with the stakeholders, developers, and few designers, designing for a complex usability problems by fostering an inclusive and iterative design process. He creates a product that truly meets the needs of a user while exceeding expectations. He is an associate senior UX designer at Lollypop Design. We look forward to learn interacting with them. So let us know how the digital products are designed directly from them. Over to you, Rohan.
Yeah, thank you so much, Suraj, for such a humbling and such a passionate introduction. I might not be able to describe myself that well the way you did. And secondly, thank you so much for SGCHI, everyone, the whole team, the organizing team, the marketing team, and especially think yeah, especially Pallavi and Rajeshwar who invited me on this platform to speak and share my knowledge. And yes, I'm always looking forward to opportunity to share information because information like fire spread when you share. So that's my belief, and I'll be very happy to connect more in the platform and learn from you all. And yeah, since you said IIT Bombay is also associated, and I've tried there multiple times and I did not get into it. So it is a very big place in my heart that firstly I tried for engineering, then I tried for designing, and both time I got rejected. So yes, I'm very glad to be a part in the team where IIT Bombay people are there. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for this opportunity, and I'll try to do justice to this. So I'll share my screen. I have a presentation. So please let me know if it is visible.
Yeah, sure.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, Rohan.
Yeah. So as my topic here is designing digital products. So I wanted to talk about a lot of things, but I did not give a particular topic as such because I wanted to leave the title open-ended, designing digital product. So if it is open-ended, firstly, it creates a create a sense of curiosity what it is about, and everyone can relate to it. And since we all know, firstly, digital product is something we have been interacting since the boom of internet, or before that, the Nokia phones we're using. And then entering into the age of AI is creating a very strong FOMO in everyone and strong fear that we might lag behind if we don't learn, if we don't upskill ourselves very fast. So this is also always a domain which will have a which will carry a sense of curiosity into it. So my topic is how to design a digital product. Okay, so I'll start. What is the firstly I'll start with the problem. Okay, congratulations, your client or you got $1 billion idea, but now what? Let's say every time guys or girls, everyone we sit and have a drink or just sit for lunch or dinner, everyone sometimes a person say this, oh, I have an amazing idea for a startup, let's do this, let's build that. Okay, everyone gets idea every time, but then what? So in general marketing standards, general industry standards, there are a lot of things like understanding user needs, balancing functionality with simplicity, ensuring seamless interaction, accommodating various devices and platforms, and iterations on user feedbacks and evolving technologies. That implants a sense of fear into our minds. Like, what exactly is that? I started with an idea, a seed, and I want it to grow into something fruitful. But in the jungle of such chaos, how do we find the path of the creation of this whole thing? So this is, I want to simplify it. I do not want to use jargons. I do not want to use the industry terms. I want to speak to everyone here. I want everyone to take back something from what I try to share. So So if you put that question in chat GPT, this is the answer you will not get. So industry, the main challenge is to deal with different verticals and dealing with different requirement and clients and expectations and financials. But when you're simply talking about idea and making a path where the idea can bloom, the chat GPT does not have the answer to that. And I want to provide a very simplistic approach to that, which we all can actually try and put our hands to make an idea into a product. So, so this is the presentation structure which I'll be following. First part, I'll talk about myself because in order to earn the credibility of what I'm sharing, it is very important for you to know or for you to believe the knowledge which I'm earned. Second part is the fundamentals. Fundamentals. That is the secret of every success. So, and that is what I call is my area of expertise. There are a lot of things which a lot of people can do, but fundamentals, if you have cleared in digital product creation, then it's more or less done. Then third part is designing a system, and fourth part I'll be just summing up. Okay, I'll start. About me. Okay, I have been since childhood age climbing or jumping a lot of hoops in my educational career. So I did a bachelor's in technology engineering from VIT Vellore in information technology, and I did masters in designing in visual communication from UID Ahmedabad. So apart from the learning which I got in my degree, there are a lot of learning which I have got in my life, you say, or journey. So for 18 years, I was in Jaipur doing my schooling. After that, I went to Vellore, Tamil Nadu, and part of engineering college. And after that, I was in Bangalore for 2 years as a software developer. And then I went to Ahmedabad as learning as to be a designer. And after that, I went to Pune doing internship in a design studio called Monsoon Fish. Then after that, I went to Delhi doing an internship in a studio called Sparkling Innovations. And after that, I joined TCS Interactive as a UI UX interaction designer for 2 years currently. And now I'm in Mumbai. I've joined Lollypop Designs, and I've been here for 8 months. And I think I'm at a place in my career right now where I can say I have acquired a bit of knowledge. Knowledge is never complete; it's an ongoing process. But I do think that what I can share has some credibility. But apart from the bookish or the on paper knowledge system, as a person, I firstly my character is emphatic. So I can from my childhood age I can relate to people's feelings and understand that. And secondly, I have creativity instinct. I like to create things, whatever it is, however it is. That is my impulsive nature, you can say. And thirdly, being an engineer, being a designer, and being born in a middle class family as well, all of them combined to make my thinking structuring as a problem solver. So if you draw a Venn diagram between creativity and empathy and problem solving, the intersection of all three is me. And and traveling all the different cities, one thing I can say for sure that people are inherently very similar or same at very fundamental level. So if you are designing, then you can consider that designing for people, not for the businesses, not for the bigger goals. If you solve a problem, you are a winner. So after that, the fundamentals. Fundamentals are very important, like I mentioned. So firstly, if you enter an industry, it is very important that if I say apple, and you also should mean an apple, you should not think of an orange. So that is what a jargon is, a technical term. If I have to define what is UX to a kid, many family functions I go to and kids ask me, what is UX? My simple upfront answer is UX design is common sense. That's it. But when I'm speaking with a client, when I'm speaking with a stakeholder, I have to speak in particular terms. I have to have a reason for every of the decisions I'm making. And that should be research based. So that's what jargon says. And second thing, which every person, I think, every person, even designers included, are getting it wrong, is to understand a requirement. What is a requirement? Okay, today I say that I want better tea is not a requirement. How actually a design requirement is done, is made, and what a designer's role is while taking requirements. So I'll start with an interactive part. Okay. Let's say you are my client and I am a business owner. I'll ask you a question. I place my requirement. Say, I want something for my employees to sit on while working. It's a very simple question, and I'll be happy if someone could give an answer to me. Like, what is that you can give me for my employees to sit on while they work?
Chair.
Yes, exactly, Rajesh. A chair, obvious answer. So I placed a requirement that I want chairs for my office where my employees can sit on. But designer came back with these. Uh, why can't I use the first one? The obvious answer would be it is not comfortable. Then the designer bought the second one. I apologize for the bad PNG image. The second one. And I said it is very comfortable. My employees will sleep. Okay, then he bought the third one. And I said, yeah, this is something what I'm looking for. But after that, I'm saying I'm not liking this model. So the designer bought these so many chairs with a similar model. The problem with the first one, I think, is it's very costly. It's a high leather made chair. It's for the CEOs. The second one is very cheap. It's welded and it has rusted iron in it. I don't want my employees to get hurt. The third one, Victorian chair, is too fancy for my employees. Fourth one meets all the requirements I want for my employees to sit on, but it is actually a saloon chair. A barber makes us sit on while cutting our hair. So now the designer is confused. Designer is cussing me that, okay, what do you want? You are asking me for a chair. I got you chair. You asked me for a chair for employee. I got you chair. I said I'm still not happy. Designer is still not happy, and the whole project got flushed. So that brings to another question. So whose fault it was that project failed? The fault was the user requirement process was not understood. Okay, firstly, there are two people who a designer has to satisfy. Firstly, there's a customer. Secondly, there's a user. A UX designer designed for the user. But if you're designing for a customer is someone who buys the product. A user is someone who uses the product. In general cases, it is the same. But let's say I'm buying a Baiju subscription for my son. So I am a customer for Baiju, but my son is a user of Baiju app. I hope you're getting me. So if you're designing as a designer, generally what people people are flawed is that people design keeping just the user in mind, but they have to keep in mind that a user will not be buying and customer will be buying, and so they just do not have to have a user design uh, in their deliverable, but they have to have a service design. So if you design for a customer, it's called a service design, and the service design comes with non-functional requirements. Okay, another door I opened. Functional requirements, non-functional requirements. Functional requirements, I want a chair for my employees that is comfortable, but not too comfortable, but not too fancy, not too costly, and employees can sit and work on it. That's a functional requirement I gave to my designer. Non-functional requirement include requirement like firstly financial issues. I have this much of fund for these many chairs. Like business requirements, I do not buy from these XYZ companies. I don't like those companies. I have an issue with them. Non-functional requirements like chair should not be big so that it will not fit. The things which I did not say, but a designer has to find out. Okay, jumping from this to the part, let's say, in a digital product based environment. Let's take an example. Okay, let's say WhatsApp. I want to design a messenger application and I hired a designer. I gave all my requirements like WhatsApp. But the designer has to keep in mind the things like there are laws on Google Play when you have to upload HPPA laws, they are called, and you cannot make anything. If you are making a conversational application, there are certain encryption that has to be added, and there are some legal functionalities or legal requirements, compliance laws, and there are technical requirements. You cannot just add any functionality you feel like having in an application. The developer has to develop it. He has to be on the table when we are discussing the final flows, and we are making the priorities of the features. So a designer cannot work in silo, and a digital product has to be thought of when every stakeholder is on the chair or table together, so that they know what chair do you want. That is the first part, is understanding user requirements. So just one idea is not a requirement. Requirement is a long list that is evolving throughout the process. Now it brings me to second part of the fundamentals, is that jargons. Like I mentioned that when I say apple, you also think of an apple, not an orange. So, okay, taking the chair example again, I've pointed an arrow to a small lever. So, okay, I've said it, it's a lever. So can you tell me that what it does? That lever below office chair. So yeah, it
It
is,
adjusts the levels of the height of the basically the part that we
yeah,
sit on. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you, Abhiram. So this chair height can be adjusted from this lever, and that's the task of this lever. Now let us try to understand what designing and different jargons are used in accordance with this chair example. Okay, as a user, I'm sitting on a chair. If I want to adjust a chair, I use touch the lever. So lever is my touch point. Okay, if I want to move or rotate the chair, the wheels are my touch points. So what a touch point is, when I interact with a product. Interaction is a two-way communication. I touch it and it gives a response. So, so so we can say that the lever, the wheels are the interaction devices or user interface. Okay, and when I'm touching them, when I'm using them, I'm interacting with them. And let's say I have a very short height, but the chair was very high. So I sat on it. I was not comfortable working. So I used the lever, I pulled it down, and now I'm comfortable working on it. So initially I was feeling frustrated, but when the chair is at the optimum height, I'm feeling relaxed and comfortable. So what was that? Feeling is or can say my experience changed using the product. So that is what user experience is. Okay. The height adjusters and the wheels are the interface. When I adjust height, when I rotate the chair, it's an interaction. And after using those features, what I feel is an experience. So when we connect the dots in terms of a digital product, when you see a button on the screen, that's a UI, user interface. When you click the button, that's an interaction. And when the message is sent or when the whole things work and my experience I feel fulfilled is user experience. So when most of the people have a difficulty or misunderstand this concept is that user experience cannot be designed as such because it is not tangible. We only design the user interface because can be tangible, and the product is the final product is what we are delivering as designers. So UX is something derived, is a byproduct. The final product we get is the interface for a digital application. Okay, now since we started with the goal that we have a $1 billion idea and I want to build a $1 billion empire from my idea. So it will work when I make lots of sales of my product. Now, like, take a step back. When my product is in market, then only I can make the sales. The product is created by the developers. The developers need the final prototype or design prototype before developing. So that's first our touch point. Let's say developers need final design product. And that's what as a designers, we are here to design. But for designers, visual designers to create the final prototype, they need a UX file or let's say wireframes which we call. So these are jargons. And for my idea, we take requirements, we understand the requirements, we sketch it, we draft it, we try different iterations, we sit with all the stakeholders about different and non-functional requirements, and we make a wireframe. Then a UI designer comes. UI designer add more usability perspective, add more features, or we say not the features, add more visual elements by provide a better experience, and then it goes to develop. That's the whole process. And being in Lollipop design myself, they follow a very good structure that UX designers work only on UX so that they do not have to focus on the colors and aesthetics. They can completely focus solving problems. And after the wireframe is completed, then only UI designer will join and make it a level higher. So, but what are the different problems we face while designing? Firstly, the team collaboration. UX designers, they have to collaborate with UI designers and finally collaborate with developers. And the system keeps evolving. Firstly, there are projects where you just have to provide a design to a client and it's done. Secondly, there are retainer projects. Their whole design is evolving. Their requirements are changing in time. And that is where you need a structure or you say a system of designing. You have to have a system in place where the ideas and the wireframes and the UI prototype and the developers follow so that even if the system changes, there is a process for that. Okay, let's get deep into it with this example. The ship you see here, you can able to see the ship, right? Yeah, the ship here is made from Legos. I hope you are aware of Lego is a small toy. It has more than 2.5 million Legos in it, and it's a record. I don't remember how big it was. It was huge, and it is built of Lego. Yeah. The reason of me showing it is to make you understand that every big thing in the world is made of small things, small repetitive elements put together in a structured way and creating wonderful products. Design works in a very similar way. If you look around in the world, you have been aware of chemistry. You must have studied the atoms make molecules, molecules make compounds, and compounds make things which we see. In designing, we use a very similar structure. But in spite of using atoms and molecules, we define design by elements. Or you say foundational elements are the color, typography, icons. With them, we make bigger components like a card, a list, and filter, form. And for combining that, we make screens, application screens, and that is transferred to the developer. So it is very similar how a Lego is used. A digital product is designed in a much similar way, just by using small elements and combining them. Okay, but what's the process? It's called a design system, the system we are using to make the designs. The design system is not just about a design. Let's say when we talk about a design, uh, it is not just to create a product, it should also talk about the brand. It should also talk about uh, ideology and visual language of the brand. So when you see cars on the road, I'll take an example, very famous, a lovely example. Has anyone played GTA 5? It's a computer game. So in GTA 5, they are not using any brand names because of legal issues. But if you see a car on the road in GTA 5, you can tell that it is a Lamborghini. Although they have never used the word Lamborghini or Mercedes or Thar or any Hummer trucks. But why we are able to recognize them is because of the design language. Physical product, you have a design language. And so every car of Mercedes, if you can look at them, you can recognize that it's a Mercedes car. It's similar with every other company, and similar goes with the digital products as well. So digital products has a visual language. So when we are creating a design system, when we are creating a visual system, especially for a design product, we have to keep in mind firstly the brand ideology and uh, brand communication. So design system nothing but a rules and guidelines. And that's okay. Yeah. So designers use design system and developers in the same way use design system to create the product. So what are the benefits of using a design system? Okay, like I mentioned about a big project. I personally have an experience of working in a huge project that has been going on from years in my company, in my studio. And then later when we realized that it has caused us the problem which we call as UI design debt. So what is that? A UI design is the interface. UI design debt is that when you do a mistake, but you don't correct it or realize it, and you keep on doing it, it collects as a debt. So I'll show an example. This is what UI design debt look like. So there's a screen of an podcast application. But if you see the search there, the first screen has a different search way. Second screen has a different way of search, different way of using search. So that's a mistake. And if not corrected in time, keep collecting over time. As you can see in this screen, there are lots of buttons. These are all for one single application. So that is the need of a design system, that even before starting a project, you define that this is how a search button will look. This is how a normal button will look. These are all the different cases of buttons, our case, a click state, disable state, and that's how you define, you restrict the usage. So the benefits of design system, it can reduce the interpretation problem first. It's a single source of truth for developers and designers. It's a fancy way of saying that a designer knows exactly what to use and a developer knows exactly what to use. So after creating a design for a component, developer creates something like code, a CSS library of that component, and they can work together. And it creates a consistency across different platforms. iOS app and an Android app can look the same because of usage of a design system. And it is a building block, it is a Lego. A design system, the component of a design system is a Lego piece for the digital product. So it includes all the things like layout, colors, icons, typography, tone, voice, style, coding convention, the grammar, the product personality, style, the voice, the animation, buttons in different stages. A design system people generally refer to as a style guide, but it is a wrong idea. When you're working on a project of designing a product with a digital product, you have to work on a lot of things more than just the components. So what is the output of a design system. Design system help designers to create an up-to-date documentation. And I am sharing this before I talk about anything about designing, is that as a designer, it is my always a strong suggestion, before you jump hands-on designing, you have to set everything in place. Otherwise, what you are designing is just a waste of time. Everything like understanding the requirements. If you understood the requirements, then you do the defining phase like IA or user journeys, and then you design the design system, how the everything will behave. It is evolving, of course, but it gives a documentation possibility. And one more thing, like this second point, documented reasoning about why decisions were made. So initially, when you're speaking with the CEO that how the search they want to look while designing the design system, you can exactly have the reason why this is why we are making the search look this way. So after 1 year, they cannot come back at you that why not we using this and that, because we can say that this has been guided by them only. And obviously, tools and processes are part of design system, and it is done on the daily basis. So after all talking about design system so many times, so coming to the main point, before designing, there are a lot of things to keep in mind, because you want your product to carry the sense of a product, not just a tool. So the pillars you have to bring in your system is like firstly a brand guideline. What is a brand guideline? Brand guideline is the logo, is the typography, is the not just the visual aspect. A brand guidelines also says about how we are using the grammar, the tone, and what principles you are using in your visuals. It tells the users and the company who you are and what your narrative is. You need to keep the brand guideline in mind while designing the product. Second thing is the style guide, which I was mentioning about, the visual style guide, the typography, icons, color of the brand. Let's say today I'm designing for Zara. Okay, and Zara uses some funky fonts. So when I'm designing an application, I have to keep that in mind, the tone of how Zara speaks. And let's say tomorrow, if I'm designing for Mercedes, so I have to keep in mind the tone of Mercedes. The product should carry that same tone. And that comes to the visual language, which I mentioned about. So visual language is not the style guide. Visual language is how a product, is how a brand should feel. When I enter into Zara shop, I feel in a certain way, and that is not by chance. That is the design in that way. How I feel a product, that experience is meticulously designed beforehand. The whole thing started, and that's the same idea I want to communicate to the future designers or current designer, is that when you're making a product, you have to keep those things in mind. We are not just making a calendar, we are not just making a calculator, we are creating an experience. And there's a famous saying, people don't remember what they do, people remember how they felt. So if your $1 billion idea wants to bloom into $1 billion industry, the experience is the gold mine. Then comes different visual elements like a pattern library, and that pattern library connected to developers gives a framework, which can be a lot of like Bootstrap, Tailwind, Bulma, or there are front end framework others, and pattern library like using atomic level designs like typography, icons, colors, and on that the components are built. I hope I'm not losing you. I'm getting too much into the design language and design system.
No, absolutely not. Go ahead, Rohan.
Yeah, thank you, Pinari. So that brings to the purpose statement. So when you're sitting on a round table with all the stakeholders and you have having a discussion of how your design system should look like. So there are few very important questions that should be posed to all the stakeholders. Questions like, what is the goal of the design system? So here I have put two different questionnaire from two different clients I have had. So I have asked them the same questions again and again, and the difference in their answer reflects on how the product will be designed or will be experienced in different sense. So one one client said that our design system should feel more up to time and focusing on user problem rather than design details. And second client said that our design system should make the quality of our products better for the audience. Then I asked why it is important for you. Because first client said if we do not innovate, if we do not stay with the market, our products are beaten by the competitor. The second stakeholder said if our audience met with inconsistent, confusing design, we will lose their trust. See, you understand how different products are strategizing their innovation in a way that help their product to grow more. And exactly, I asked this third question: by how will it help us? Firstly, said that resolving common situation and repeatable patterns so that product team can focus on new problems. And second stakeholder said that by keeping people that are creating a product on the same page with shared tool. So the design system is solving two problems. On the left one, it is solving the problem that now the designers and developers do not have to think about everything and they can focus on solving the problem. And the second case, it is helping them in collaborating with different teams like developers and designers. So that is how a purpose statement is made. And coming then comes the design principle. Okay, so what's the principle? Principle are nothing, the guidelines to live by. What we say, like honesty is a principle, something like that. So when you ask what principles your product want to be, everyone will say it should be delightful and simple. It's a universal principle. But intercom industry people says their principle is the designing conversations. They're not designing transactions. But transaction is something we do in banking. But in a communication industry, they are designing conversation. So that's how you do a design principle understanding from the client, similar way asking them the questions. Then you audit the current UI inventory. That is means that current UI system and what are their inconsistencies. And then comes the part of hierarchy. So I'm not going deep into this because this is basic functional or fundamental approach. And my idea is more on the conceptual and ideological part of it. Okay, this is a bad image. Yeah. So this is what a design system looks like. So a button will have different stages. And if all of that is created firsthand, then you don't need anything. You need the problem, then understand the solution, even sketch out the solution and use this library. And you can create the product visually. And the developer will have the whole CSS in the backend and they can develop on the hand. Then it will all about the backend developers to link it to the database. So that is in my 6 years of experience as a designer and 2 years experience as a developer myself, this approach, if taken with very sincerity, utmost determination, it can save you years of developmental effort and investment, and your product will be very easy to update. Let's say tomorrow, if a new trend comes, let's say glass morphism came some time back, minimal design came, then suddenly pop designs were in fashion. Now Cred is currently changing the whole game with their gamified experience. So if you want to design to evolve with time, this is a very simple way of doing that. Okay, that brings me to my fourth point, and which is summarizing. So by now, what I was talking about is the style guide, the visual element. And again, if you can see the Venn diagram here, the design system is not the style guide. Style guide is an element of design system. So what all are there? You see, we are human beings are social creatures and we have to work in teams. Every human is a different problem, or not a problem, is a different enigma in themselves. So in order for them, all of them to work together in teams in harmony, the system again is going to play the role. Okay. In designing, we have a 4D process or double diamond process, and everyone talks about it. But what it is exactly is first part is discover. When you understand the problem, you speak with client, you gather requirements, functional, non-functional requirements. You provide estimated timelines for solving those requirements. As a team member, I say that is should be placed in a system, because system may not be followed. The client may change their word, client may forget what they said, and it goes front and back. Everyone's time is wasted. The second part is defining. When you define the solution of a problem, it's like a blueprint. It's called an information architecture. Information architecture is nothing but a diagram that shows which piece of information lies where on the system. And it might sound again a bit fancy, which I was trying to avoid the whole time, but IA is nothing but a structure diagram that tells what can you find where in the system. And you make user flows, how a user goes from start to end solving a problem. And that is also part of design system. Creating how to create design documentation is a part of design system. And final part, the delivery, creating designs, the style guide, then creating presentation for client, how to communicate with the client, how to update the feedbacks from the client, and finally how to hand off the final design to the devs. Is all part of the system, because if that also worked well, then the process is going to end well. Because as I said, human beings, being human beings, have a tendency to miss out on things, and if process is not helping them avoid that, then it's still the designer's fault. And apart from that, there are things like team collaboration tools. I personally prefer agile and waterfall method, not waterfall, but agile method. Using Jira is a wonderful software. Then coming to design documentations and designer onboarding and offboarding on the project, all part of design system. So that was just a brief summary of whatever I said. And final part, I just want to give my few suggestions. So any designer, any person who wants to understand how products are designed has certainly have to memorize the heuristic analysis. What is heuristics? So initially I said that UX is common sense, but when you talk about it, when you mention about any design decision, you can't say that I feel like doing this, that's why I'm doing this. No, you have to have a backup for that, a reason. So heuristics are the laws by which the design is analyzed and rated. They have to have heuristic analysis and user UX matrix all the time in memorized so that they can understand. I recommend every designer to practice UX whiteboarding because it helps them solve and ideate. The tools, Figma, obviously always. Designer should also know Power BI because Power BI is a tool that helps visualize the data. So if you show someone numbers, they might not able to understand. I will not able to understand. But if someone shows me a graph, then I can derive the interpretation. And Power BI is a very simple tool, helps with that. And obviously, thirdly, ChatGPT. Currently, ChatGPT is my very good friend of mine, so it helps me in a lot of places. But what ChatGPT is, like I mentioned, like is creating a fear in the society about AI. AI will never replace a UX designer because AI can't think like a human being. AI does not know what people are feeling. So UX designers, you can use ChatGPT as an intern. It's a genius intern. You give them tasks, it will give you the solutions. And then finally, the resources. Every now and then I see the Instagram reels and everything giving idea on different tools on UI and UX and this and do this, do that. Don't listen to that. It's just information overloaded and you will go into analysis paralysis. NNG, Nielsen Norman Group, and IXDF, Interaction Design Foundation. These are your two holy Bibles. Take whatever information you want, take from there. And just some few recommendations. My personal favorite YouTube channel is Ansh Mehra. He gives good advices. And there's called Design with Ursh. He can help with lot with software technology. And Misko, he's an international designer. He speaks well. Apart from that, I'm not a big fan of that. Then turning from my personal experience, I like mentioned, never start designing until requirements and timelines are clear with the client. Because I have seen people suffer because of that. As a designer, as a professional, you should never do that. Respect your work. And finally, always prefer agile tools like Jira to manage workshops. And on the right hand side, I've provided links for everything. Can I please let me know? Will I be able to share this PDF with people?
Yes. We can
Yeah.
cross a PDF.
Yeah, I'll provide all the good links, which I think very helpful for everyone. So please check out if you're interested. And finally, thank you so much for your time, and I'm very helpful. And I'm open for question and answer if anybody wants.
Okay,
It was a great session,
Yes.
Rohan. Absolutely great.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. If anybody wants to go first, I can go second. If somebody else has a question, should I go first?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Okay. So, the first of all, really wonderful presentation, Rohan.
Thank you so much.
So I have one question. So the design depth, the depth that you mentioned was a quite interesting interesting context, quite interesting idea that if you introduced. I want to also ask you, so at what if the design system is a little imperfect in terms of
Mm.
visual consistency, in terms of consistency, it is a little imperfect.
Mm.
So you, like you said, the depth keeps adding up,
Yeah.
which I've also noticed that the depth keeps adding up. So at what point should you suggest the stakeholder or the client that you need like a complete redesign, or you need something from scratch? So because there are a lot of systems which have already been created, and they have been having that depth. And for us, do we start us as designers? Should we start in between and clear that clutter, or should we begin from the scratch and convince the client that you need something from the scratch? How do you think we should go about solving this problem?
That's actually a very good question. And till yesterday, I was in the office going through the same dilemma, because if you stop and make it rework, the client's business is going to suffer. And if it is designer's fault, then designers have to pay for it. And if you keep going with that debt, keep collecting.
Right.
So the right time is now, quite frankly. But as a designer, it is very difficult. Firstly, we have to accept our mistake that it was not done right in the first place. If it is developer's fault, we have to find out that they have not followed the procedure. So you have to keep documentation in hand that this file was transferred to this time to this day.
Okay.
But in order to answer your question, when we have to be sure that now is the right time, I honestly don't know what can we do, because either you have to work extra hours behind and then you have to provide a final solution, and from now onwards you can get this on place, and slowly you can replace the inconsistencies. But
But don't you think that we beginning somewhere in between might just add up to these inconsistencies at scale? So that's why there is more depth being created. So
yeah,
is it a task that we are creating this sort of a depth? But is there any way to, have you read up literature, or is there any way to counter this? Like what is the procedure?
so what, yeah, in the current process we are facing this issue. So what we are doing, that till now what we have created, we are letting it be that way, and we are designing a system so that what we are creating now onwards will be consistent. And since every platform or every design is evolving with time, we might have to change the structures. So when we will be doing the first audit on that design, we'll make that backlog clear. So
Okay.
that's the current strategy we are following. So because development also takes time, we do not want to waste the efforts of developers and make them debug. So we are waiting for the first audit of the current design, and then we'll systemize everything.
Okay. Okay.
If I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. Yes. Thanks.
Um, Rohan, I had a small question that has been bugging me since quite some time.
Yeah, hi everyone.
So,
Yeah, tell me.
hi. Beautiful session, by the way.
Oh,
Was a great
thank you so much.
learning experience. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, oftentimes I have heard from stakeholders and clients that a particular, and even from fellow designers, like I can't even bar myself from this. We sometimes feel that a particular app, like the favorite phrase that we want to use for this is the app starts looking dated. The UI starts looking dated, right? So I think it's like it generally means that the app has started to look very monotonous, very unlike what the current trend has been going on. But I sometimes feel, I sometimes find it very difficult to balance between the utility of the app and the visuals that are there. So are visuals just an outcome of what the current trend is going on, or do they have uh, a deeper significance behind them? Because this generally happens in context of the visuals of the app being outdated or not being in trend. So how do I tackle the visuals of an app not being in trend?
Amazing question, Abhiram. Thank you so much for making me think that way. It's very intellectually stimulating. So I don't know if I'll be answering your question or not, but let me speak what I'm thinking. Let me think out loud. So your question being that when an application is not relevant, let's say I have an application and currently this Apple what they are thing is on market and spatial design is the new thing that is going on, and let's say everyone has done that, but every one of my competitor has done that, but did not do that. So my application looks outdated. So your question being is that visuals does only play a part in aesthetics and not in the functionality. Let me know if I'm understood correct.
Partly to that extent, yes. But also when it comes to whether or not should I use rounded corners, or whether or not should I use a blurred background, such calls generally come from a very superficial justification that maybe the trend is that everyone is having like a blurred background, so maybe that is what I should be doing. I just wanted to know whether there are more informed, more deeper ways of having reasonings for such visual decisions. And I'm not like I should be very careful before saying that following trend is a superficial way of doing things, because it is not. You always have to be in trend. But is there a deeper way or a more substantial way um, to
So
make visual design decisions, like
yeah,
on the basis of which we can make visual design decisions? Yeah.
so visual design, since it is affecting the usability, so it is also a part of the UX design. And in UX, we have a law called law of familiarity. So if I'm going on Make My Trip, if I'm going on Go IBBO and I'm seeing a similar structure, and I see a different structure in yatra.com, I'll hesitate. My experience will affect. So one point, it is important to match the familiarity of user with using the same platform is because of the similarity experience. But there are always experience like CRED I mentioned. I've never seen such sharp corners buttons, but I always might find myself playing on CRED. So firstly, yes, it affects for. Secondly, it is the reason for the user. So I have worked on an application for designing for kids. So for kids, that is generally rounded corners and playful colors and beautiful drop shadows. And also about customers, because the person who is buying will judge the quality of the product by just the look and feel of it. Because like I think Nielsen law or something, Jacob's law, something that it says that your visual aesthetics quality of that is directly proportional to person interpreting the value of that. So
That's an
yes,
interesting notion. That's an interesting.
yeah. So in some ways, the market relevance is important. In most ways, I think if I have to give a rough ballpark, say 70%, it is very important to match the relevance in current trends.
Correct. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have a question.
Yeah, hi Rajesh.
Hello, Rohan. So you talked about Power BI tools. So
Hmm.
as designers, we are sort of as creative. We give out eccentric ideas, but now data is everything. Data is like the 21st century oil. But as designers, we are generally not given access to data, or we are not encouraged to look at the analytic side of things. So but I feel that creativity and analytics go hand in hand, but uh, the outside world does not see us like that. They see us as more creative, more you say using the right side of the brain. So how to tackle that means how to make sure that we get the access to the data. As designers, we also look at the research aspect, look at analytics, and come out with beautiful insights to guide our design. So I want to know how we as designers can help help in getting that data and help in using that data to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, as designers, our responsibility is not just about ideating and coming up with crazy ideas, but as designers, it is also our responsibility to make our stakeholders aware about the importance of different aspects in the designing. So, like I mentioned, non-functional requirements. So you just cannot design in the silo. You need the information, and when the stakes are very high, you cannot design without data. And I can say for sure is that when a owner of a company that knows that everything of their business is dependent on the usage of the application, then they will not hesitate because they know that design is directly proportional to their growth. So as designers, I recommend or I strongly suggest is that make them aware. They will not be interested because they have a mindset which they have had since always. But you have to find a way, since you are a creative, you have to find a way to communicate with them. Design is not just about creation, design is also about communication. You have to empathize with your clients first, that if they are being the problem in your design pathway, then you have to tackle them with design principles. Make them aware, show them the research data. I think most of the business owners speak the languages of KPI. They understand numbers. Show them the numbers of if you change a banner and this number of bounce back rate increased. Show them the SEO optimization approach. If we show them our research data, then they will know that their data is important for us. So yeah, it's our job to get them on the plate. And if they're still not interested, then I don't know. We'll still try to do our best on it. I
Thank
hope that
you.
answers. Thank you.
Hi Rohan. That was a great question that Rajeshwar asked. I had a follow-up question on that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when you say that, and obviously it is true that we always need data to back our design decisions and all of these things. So, but yet we are the ones to say that designing is a creative job, and one needs creativity to become a good designer. Uh, so how do you bifurcate the contribution of analysis and creativity in the field of design? How much and this is a completely, like, it can be a completely subjective answer. I'm asking about what you think is the bifurcation. How much of a good design is analysis and how much is creativity?
Very interesting question. More about design philosophy. So, because nothing will work if your product does not go in the market. And if it goes in the market, then if it doesn't work, then still everything is a failure. So, if in order to make things work, there's always a trade off. So, developmental constraints are there, then there are business constraints, then there are legal constraints, and then there are market constraints. And the beauty of creativity, since we're talking about in a philosophical term, the beauty of creativity is that the more it is constrained, the more it has chance to function, the more the playground increases for it.
Beautiful. Mhm.
Thank you. I just came up with it. Yeah.
Good one. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think creativity can be bound by constraints, because the more challenging it becomes, and the idea will come. Idea will still be there, and it will not be artwork like Mona Lisa or things like what generally people see a synonym for creativity. Creativity can also be just making a back button where people actually need it. Creativity can also be just like iPhone does, making it simple. Apple, the whole philosophy, think different, started from making things simple. So I'm not able to think of any product which I can there's justification though, but like you see the in cities in more metropolitan urbanized or city like Mumbai, which is over urbanized, it has more potential of upcoming startups or businesses because we have more problems. And in small towns, there aren't much because people can solve their problems. So if the creativity blooms in constraints, that's my final word.
That's beautiful. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Let me know if I'm to say. From my side, it was a great session. Apart from my prepared presentation, I really enjoyed the question and answer round. So thank you, Kinari. Thank you, Suraj, for this opportunity. And
Yes.
I'll be very happy to be a part in any way of your future programs or anything. I can also help bring more people from my studio. And there are many talented UI and UX designers, product designers. I've got Lollipop design is an amazing place to work as a designer. Yeah, I think I'll be very happy if I could help you in any way.
There's also Pallavi who said that nice presentation. I'm just going to read out the chat. So Pallavi says that she has to leave and she says, nice presentation starts Rohan. Thanks, Rohan. Sorry. And also Bhushan who says that thank you for a great session. So
Thank you.
thanks a lot for coming again, Rohan. We would really, really love to bring in more designers and we are really open for collaborations. So we would really love to host you again as well. So there's Asmita who's joined just recently. Sorry,
I have one
Asmita.
request for Rohan. Maybe you can, if you can show execution level of creating flows and creating happy flow and logical flow of any example, that live example. If you would have, maybe you can remove the brandings of your brands and take us through the how the ground level execution works. It will really help us to.
Yeah, totally. I could do.
That's a great suggestion, Bhushan. We would love for you to have us share your real-time project or something that you're working on. We would also love for you to have a workshop with us. Even that's a possibility. For today, do you want to close, Suraj? If anybody else has a question, you can sort of put it in the chat as well, or if you want to say it out loud, you can before we close. That's Suraj's call.
It's an awesome presentation, Rohan. It gives a very good understanding of digital product design journey with a great example. I sincerely thank him for taking time out of his busy schedule to attend a request. Thank you so much, Rohan.